for the day, beautiful people. That's Wobble. Great rising. Okay. Yeah, YouTube going now. Be good. Time for the day, beautiful people. Time for the day. I'm going to move this over here. This going. Everybody sleep last night. You get some good rest. About to go into the weekend. Alright. Peace and blessings, Aliyah. YouTube, everybody present over here. Alright. Everything put on the screen. We should be good to go. Blessings, divine blessings, blessings. Hey y'all, look, I found this document. Look, I was going through the Hebrews to Negro stuff, right? And I found this document, Hezekiah, Shalom, Shalom. Oh, thank you. You're going to get that, what you mentioned yesterday. Thank you. I appreciate that. Look, I came across another PDF, right? From one of the, what's his name? It's an Ashkenazi Jew. Was it something Rosenthal, right? He wrote this, it kind of blew me away. And I missed it the first time I was going through, actually watching the documentary, Shalom, Shalom, Mom, on Hebrews and Negroes. So I've been watching it again since yesterday. It's 3 hours long. You got to kind of like break it up in bits and pieces while you go look through stuff. But look, he mentioned this, well, shucks, you might as well say like a little booklet. It's in the PDF, and I'll share it with y'all today. I sent it to you, Mom, this morning, and Alicia. Shayla, sweet. But he mentions it, and he goes into some of the detail on what the Joo-ish people, the people who are impersonating the real Hebrews, he goes into some detail on how they did some of that stuff, and I'm just like, wow, like they are, like, they don't care. They're completely bold about it. And look, he even goes as far to say, and it's right at the top of the document. Look, I'm like, what? No, maybe they took this out of context, right? No, completely not taken out of context. He said what he meant, right? And at the top of it, on the very first page at the top, it says, I'm sum it up. It's like I don't remember the sentence verbatim, but I remember what he said about who they worship, right? And he said that the God that the Jews worship, not the Hebrews, not us, we worship the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the creator of the world. He said that the Joo-ish people, the ones over that have the world food now, I can't make this stuff up, y'all. He said that the God they worship is Lucifer himself. I'm like, shut your mouth. Like, I already knew that. But to hear one of them say it, I'm like, and I started reading through. Yo, I got through probably about 10 pages of it. Yo, I'm going to share that with y'all today. Look, I know all of y'all want to, because there's some people, they get distracted. Somebody going to be saying you throwing up the sixes, Mom. This is like, okay, but you know, you just got them folk, all of y'all, boy. But anyway, they distracted. They worry about the wrong thing anyway. Look, I'm gonna send y'all that pamphlet. I'm just like, what? And it even goes into America and how they use the media to pretty much keep everybody's eyes. And he went into detail explaining how they pit the different races of people against each other, so that they would be like, they wouldn't be paying attention to them. He talked about how good they are at doing this. He said it baffles them that America doesn't kick out every Jewish person that is here. And not just here, but wherever you find them, right? I'm just like, get out of here. Y'all have to read. I know I be telling y'all, again, y'all a bunch of stuff to read, but that completely blew my mind. I'm like, and they are not quiet about it at all. They're quiet about it, but they're not quiet about it. They do it. They kind of like hide it in plain sight while they perform these Jedi mind tricks on you. They get you looking somewhere else and get y'all fighting amongst each other while they go ahead doing what they doing as the puppet masters. Y'all got, I'm telling you. I'm gonna send it to y'all today. I'm gonna post it. I'm gonna pin it in both places. Y'all have to look at that. It's a really quick read. It's a PDF, and you can kind of skim through it. It'll blow your mind. I got it. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave the link. Okay, y'all. So let's get started today. It is Friday. Happy Friday, everybody. Happy Friday. It is April the 30th, the last day of the month. April the 30th, 2021. We're on day 141 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets. And of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 810, 810, right? So today we're reading First Chronicles 5, 6, and 7. And I think it depends when we're reading through. I believe we will be finishing up the Legends of the Jews today. It's going to be it, right? So we'll pick that up on page 510. We'll see. If we don't get through all that today, we will completely be done with it tomorrow. But I'm thinking we should be done with it today. So let's go ahead and do the Shema, which is found in Deuteronomy chapter 6. And we start at verse 3. Remember, but read the whole chapter in context. Y'all title, hey. Hear, therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuwah, the God of our fathers, has promised us, in the land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, pay attention, y'all. Let me get y'all attention. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah, our God, He is one God. And you shall love Yahuwah your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them on the posts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuwah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuwah our God for our good always, that He might preserve us alive as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahuwah our God, as He has commanded us. Oh, look, and something else I forgot to mention while I was doing the Shema. Remember what I shared with y'all yesterday about JC and some of the, like my mama say, the frackle knackle going on over in the New Testament? He actually mentioned some of that stuff, and he talks about JC, and I'm just like, bruh. I guess I came back across it today based on what we're learning and what we're going through, and I'm like, oh, I see how all this lines up. And then as we get over in here into fossilized customs, I was like, oh, this is lining up perfectly, so like I said, y'all, make sure when y'all get a chance, it's a 42-page PDF, but you can probably read through the whole thing in about 20, maybe 30 minutes, depending on how much of a reader you are. But I'm telling you, y'all, look, okay, let's just start. First Chronicles chapter 5. The descendants of Reuben. The oldest son of Israel was Reuben, but since he dishonored his father by sleeping with one of his father's concubines, his birthright was given to the sons of his brother Joseph. For this reason, Reuben is not listed in the genealogical records as the firstborn son. The descendants of Judah became the most powerful tribe and provided a ruler for the nation, but the birthright belonged to Joseph. The sons of Reuben, the oldest son of Israel, were Hanok, Palu, Hezron, and Carmi. The descendants of Joel were Shemaiah, Gog, Shimei, Micah, Reiah, Baal, and Bera. Bera was the leader of the Reubenites when they were taken into captivity by King Tiglath-Pileser of Assyria. Bera's relatives are listed in their genealogical records by their clans: Jael, the leader, Zechariah, and Bela, son of Azaz, son of Shema, son of Joel. The Reubenites lived in the area that stretches from Ar to Nebo and Bel-Meon, and since they had so many livestock in the land of Gilead, they spread east toward the edge of the desert that stretches to the Euphrates River. During the reign of Saul, the Reubenites defeated the Hagarites in battle. Then they moved into the Hagarite settlements all along the eastern edge of Gilead. Next to the Reubenites, the descendants of Gad lived in the land of Bashan as far east as Selecah. Joel was the leader in the land of Bashan, and Shepham was second in command, followed by Janai and Shaphat. Their relatives, the leaders of the 7 other clans, were Michael, Meshullam, Sheba, Jorai, Jachan, Zia, and Eber. These were all descendants of Abihail, son of Huri, son of Jeroah, son of Gilead, son of Michael, son of Jishishai, son of Jado, son of Buz. Ahai, son of Abidel, son of Guni, was the leader of their clans. The Gadites lived in the land of Gilead and Bashan and its villages, and throughout all the pasture lands of Sharon. Excuse me. All of these were listed in the genealogical records during the days of King Jotham of Judah and King Jeroboam of Israel. There were 44,760 capable warriors in the armies of Reuben, Gad, and the half-tribe of Manasseh. They were all skilled in combat and armed with shields, swords, and bows. They waged war against the Hagarites, the Jetorites, the Naphishites, and the Nadobites. They cried out to Yah during the battle, and he answered their prayer because they trusted in him. So the Hagarites and all their allies were defeated. The plunder taken from the Hagarites included 50,000 camels, 250,000 sheep and goats, 2,000 donkeys, and 100,000 captives. Many of the Hagarites were killed in battle because Yahuwah was fighting against them. The people of Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh lived in their land until they were taken into exile. The half-tribe of Manasseh was very large and spread through the land from Bashan to Baal-Hermon, Senir, and Mount Hermon. These were the leaders of their clans: Epher, Ishi, Eliel, Azriel, Jeremiah, Hodiviah, and Jadiel. These men had a great reputation as mighty warriors and leaders of their clans. But these tribes were unfaithful to the God of their ancestors. They worshipped the gods of the nations that Yahuwah had destroyed. So the God of Israel caused King Pul of Assyria, also known as Tiglath-Pileser, to invade the land and take away the people of Reuben, Gad, and the half-tribe of Manasseh as captives. The Assyrians exiled them to Halah, Habor, Hara, and the Gozan River, where they remain to this day. Next chapter, 1 Chronicles chapter 6. The sons of Levi were Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. The descendants of Kohath included Amram, Ishar, Hebron, and Uzziel. The children of Amram were Aaron, Moses, and Miriam. The sons of Aaron were Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. Eleazar was the father of Phinehas. Phinehas was the father of Abishua. Abishua was the father of Buki. Buki was the father of Uzi. Uzi was the father of Zariah. Zariah was the father of Marioth. Marioth was the father of Amira. Amira was the father of Ahitub. Ahitub was the father of Zadok. Zadok was the father of Ahimaaz. Ahimaaz was the father of Azariah. Azariah was the father of Johanan. Johanan was the father of Azariah, the high priest at the temple built by Solomon in Jerusalem. Azariah was the father of Amariah. Amariah was the father of Ahitub. Ahitub was the father of Zadok. Zadok was the father of Shulem. Shulem was the father of Hilkiah. Hilkiah was the father of Azariah. Azariah was the father of Sariah. Sariah was the father of Jehozadak, who went into exile when Yahuwah sent the people of Judah and Jerusalem into captivity under Nebuchadnezzar. And clearly we see a lot of these people have the same names. So sometimes people might get they might get some of the people mixed up because they have the same names. And I've known that to happen a lot. So that's why other scrolls and documents make some things a little bit more clear so you don't get some people mixed up just because they have the same names. All right, the Levite clans. The sons of Levi were Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. The descendants of Gershon included Libni and Shimei. The descendants of Kohath included Amram, Izhar, Hebron, and Uzziel. The descendants of Merari included Mali and Mushi. The following were the Levite clans listed according to their ancestral descent. The descendants of Gershon included Libni, Jahath, Zimmah, Joah, Iddo, Zerah, and Jetheri. The descendants of Kohath included Aminadab, Korah, Asir, Elkanah, Abisaph, Asir, Tahath, Uriel, Uzziah, and Shaul. The descendants of Elkanah included Amasai, Ahimoth, Elkanah, Zophai, Nahath, Eliab, Jeroham, Elkanah, and Samuel. The sons of Samuel were Joel the older and Abijah the second. The descendants of Merari included Mali, Libni, Shimei, Uzzah, Shimea, Haggai, and Asaiah. David assigned the following men to lead the music at the house of Yahuwah after the ark was placed there. They ministered with music at the tabernacle until Solomon built the temple of Yahuwah in Jerusalem. They carried out their work following all the regulations handed down to them. These are the men who served along with their sons. Haman, the musician, was from the clan of Kohath. His genealogy was traced back through Joel, Samuel, Elkanah, Jehoram, Eliel, Toa, Zuph, Elkanah, Mahath, Amasai, Elkanah, Joel, Azariah, Zephaniah, Tahath, Asir, Abisaph, Korah, Izhar, Kohath, Levi, and Israel. Haman's first assistant was Asaph from the clan of Gershon. Asaph's genealogy was traced back through Berechiah, Shimei, Micah, Basia, Malchijah, Ethni, Zerah, Adiah, Ethan, Zimmah, Shimei, Jahath, Gershon, and Levi. Haman's second assistant was Ethan from the clan of Merari. Ethan's genealogy was traced back through Cushi, Abdi, Maluk, Hashabiah, Amaziah, Hilkiah, Amaziah, Bani, Shemer, Mali, Mushi, Merari, and Levi. Their fellow Levites were appointed to various other tasks in the tabernacle, the house of Yahuwah. Only Aaron and his descendants served as priests. They presented the offerings on the altar of burnt offering and the altar of incense, and they performed all the other duties related to the most holy place. They made atonement for Israel by doing everything that Moses, the servant of Yahuwah, commanded them. The descendants of Aaron were Eleazar, Phinehas, Abishua, Buki, Uzi, Zerahiah, Meriah, Amariah, Ahitub, Zadok, and Ahimaaz. This is the record of the towns and territory assigned by means of sacred lots to the descendants of Aaron who were from the clan of Kohath. This territory included Hebron and its surrounding pasture lands in Judah, but the fields and outlying areas belonging to the city were given to Caleb, son of Jephunneh. So the descendants of Aaron were given the following towns, each with its pasture lands: Hebron, a city of refuge; Libnah, Jatir, Eshtemoa, Holon, Dibir, Ain, Juttah, and Beth Shemesh. And from the territory of Benjamin they were given Gibeon, Geba, Alimeth, and Anathoth, each with its pasture lands. So 13 towns were given to the descendants of Aaron. The remaining descendants of Kohath received 10 towns from the territory of the half-tribe of Manasseh by means of sacred lots. The descendants of Gershon received by sacred lots 13 towns from the territories of Issachar, Asher, Naphtali, and from the Bashan area of Manasseh, east of the Jordan. The descendants of Merari received by sacred lots 12 towns from the territories of Reuben, Gad, and Zebulun. So the people of Israel assigned all these towns and pasture lands to the Levites. The towns and the territories of Judah, Simeon, and Benjamin, mentioned above, were assigned to them by means of sacred lots. The descendants of Kohath were given the following towns from the territory of Ephraim, each with its pasture lands: Shechem, a city of refuge, in the hill country of Ephraim, Gezer, Jokneam, Beth Horon, Ajalon, and Gath Rimmon. The remaining descendants of Kohath were assigned the towns of Aner and Bileam from the territory of the half-tribe of Manasseh, each with its pasture lands. The descendants of Gershom received the towns of Golan in Bashan and Ashtaroth from the territory of the half-tribe of Manasseh, each with its pasture lands. From the territory of Issachar, they were given Kadesh, Deborah, Ramoth, and Anim, each with its pasture lands. From the territory of Asher, they received Mashal, Abdon, Hakuk, and Rehob, each with its pasture lands. From the territory of Naphtali, they were given Kadesh in Galilee, Haman, and Kiriathaim, each with its pasture lands. Y'all stay with me. We almost done. Verse 77. The remaining descendants of Merari received the towns of Jokneam, Karta, Remnon, and Tabor from the territory of Zebulun, each with its pasture lands. From the territory of Reuben, east of the Jordan River opposite Jericho, they received Bezer, a desert town, Jahaz, Kedimoth, and Mephath, each with its pasture lands. And from the territory of Gad, they received Ramoth and Gilead, Mahanaim, Heshbon, and Jazer, each with its pasture lands. Okay, last chapter for today, 1 Chronicles chapter 7. Okay, so remember, Levi, the entire tribe of Levi, Yahuwah said he was our portion, right? So the tribe of Levi, although they didn't have a designated area, portion of land set aside for them, they had portions of land in all of the other 11 tribes. Because remember, the Levites were the priests. They were ones in direct communication with Yahuwah, and Yahuwah took them and divided Levi within all the other tribes, right? So they pretty much had priests and spokespersons, those who all they do is go to Yah and give the word. Where everybody has different jobs and tasks they have to do, just like the body. The eyes were created to see, the nose to smell, mouth to speak, eat, ears to hear, hands. You get it, right? So the priests were like the ears and the eyes of Yah that he set in the midst of all his people where he had them, while they were in the land as well as while we are still scattered, right? So you will find Levi with land, although the entire land, like this is the land that belongs to Judah. Within Judah, there is portions of land that the tribe of Judah has set aside and given to Levi, so that they and their families and everything that belonged to them, they have a place to stay. So it weren't like Levi was all out there, we ain't got nowhere to go. No, you got a place to go. But in every portion of all this best land, Levi will have towns and pasture lands and things belonging specifically to you. But I don't want to pull you apart and keep you isolated from everybody else. Well, all the Levi's over there, we got to go see Levi. No, I want Levi within all the other 11 tribes. So you can kind of not keep watch, but you refer to the people, make sure everybody is doing what they need to do, right? I mean, everybody's responsible for themselves, but you kind of got like them leaders. Although you had the leaders or whatever, but the ones who intercede on your behalf, right? That's them. So they had places within everybody's land. All y'all understand that, I'm sure, but just in case somebody didn't, I just kind of wanted to make that a little bit clear, a little bit more clear. Okay, last chapter for today, 1 Chronicles chapter 7. The descendants of Issachar. The four sons of Issachar were Tola, Pua, Jeshub, and Shimron. The sons of Tola were Uzi, Raphaniah, Jeriel, Jami, Ibsam, and Shemuel. Each of them was the leader of an ancestral clan. At the time of King David, the total number of mighty warriors listed in the records of these clans was 22,600. The son of Uzi was Izrahiah. The sons of Izrahiah were Michael, Obadiah, Joel, and Ishiah. These 5 became the leaders of clans. All of them had many wives and many sons, so the total number of men available for military service among their descendants was 36,000. The total number of mighty warriors from all the clans of the tribe of Issachar was 87,000. All of them were listed in their genealogical records. 3 of Benjamin's sons were Bela, Becher, and Jediel. The 5 sons of Bela were Ishban, Uzi, Uziel, Jeremoth, and Eri. Each of them was a leader of an ancestral clan. The total number of mighty warriors from these clans was 22,034, as listed in their genealogical records. The sons of Becher were Zemira, Joash, Eliezer, Elionai, Omri, Jeremoth, Abijah, Anathoth, and Alameth. Each of them was a leader of an ancestral clan. The total number of mighty warriors and leaders from these clans was 20,200 as listed in their genealogical records. The son of Jediel was Bilhan. The sons of Bilhan were Jeush, Benjamin, Ehud, Kenath, Zethan, Tarshish, and Ahishahar. Each of them was a leader of an ancestral clan. From these clans, the total number of mighty warriors ready for war was 17,200. The sons of Ir were Shupam and Hupim. Husham was the son of Aher. The sons of Naphtali were Jaziel, Guni, Jezer, and Shillem. They were all descendants of Jacob's concubine, Bilhah. The descendants of Manasseh through his Aramean concubine included Azriel, as she bore Machir, the father of Gilead. Machir found wives for Hupim and Shupim. Machir had a sister named Makkah. One of his descendants was Zelophehad, who only had daughters. Machir's wife, Makkah, gave birth to a son whom she named Peresh. His brother's name was Sheresh. The sons of Peresh were Ulam and Racham. The son of Ulam was Bedan. All these were considered Gileadites, descendants of Machir, son of Manasseh. Machir's sister, Hamoleketh, gave birth to Ishdad, Abiezer, and Mala. The sons of Shemitah were Ahian, Shechem, Likhi, and Aniam. The descendants of Ephraim were Shuthelah, Bered, Tahath, Eladah, Tahath, Zabad, Shuthliha, Ezra, and Elad. These 2 were killed trying to steal livestock from the local farmers near Gath. Their father, Ephraim, mourned for them a long time, and his relatives came to comfort him. Afterward, Ephraim slept with his wife, and she became pregnant and gave birth to a son. Ephraim named him Beriah because of the tragedy his family had suffered. He had a daughter named Shirah. She built the towns of Lower and Upper Beth-Horon and Uzin Shirah. The descendants of Ephraim included Rephath, Resheph, Tela, Tahan, Ladan, Amihud, Elishama, Nun, and Joshua. The descendants of Ephraim lived in a territory that included Bethel and its surrounding towns to the south, Naaran to the east, Gezer and its villages to the west, and Shechem and its surrounding villages to the north, as far as Ayah and its towns. Along the border of Manasseh were the towns of Bethshan, Tanakh, Megiddo, Dor, and their surrounding villages. The descendants of Joseph's sons of Israel lived in these towns. The sons of Asher were Imnah, Ishva, Ishvi, and Beriah. They had a sister named Sarah. The sons of Beriah were Heber and Malchiel, the father of Berzeh. The sons of Heber were Japhlet, Shomer, and Hotham. They had a sister named Shua. The sons of Japhlet were Pesach, Bimhal, and Ashvath. The sons of Shomer were Ahi, Roga, Hubah, and Aram. The sons of his brother Helam were Zophah, Imnah, Shelesh, and Amal. The sons of Zophah were Shua, Harnefer, Shuel, Beri, Imrah, Bezer, Hod, Shama, Shilsha, Ethran, and Bera. I'm trying not to get tongue-tied, y'all. The sons of Jether were Jephunneh, Pispa, and Ara. The sons of Ulah were Ara, Haniel, and Reziah. Each of these descendants of Asher was the head of an ancestral clan. They were all select men, mighty warriors, and outstanding leaders. The total number of men available for military service was 26,000 as listed in their genealogical records. Okay. All right, beautiful people. So that was the last chapter for today out of the scriptures. So let's now go ahead and hop over here to the Legends of the Jews and pick up where we left off yesterday. This might be it, y'all. This is what we got left. Oh, my G, we're going to be done today. And we only have 31 minutes, too. I ain't going to know what to do with myself when we get done. All right. Shucks, we might be done before we hit the hour mark. Okay. The fall of Haman, y'all. Okay, so we know yesterday the king, it was telling us about when he was laying upon his bed and he couldn't sleep. The angels was messing with him, wouldn't let him sleep. He was hearing stuff. He called for the readers to read through some of the stuff that happened. That's when he found out that Mordecai saved his life. So he called in Haman, but the angels had warned him ahead of time that the person who was really his enemy is the one who was going to come and suggest this, this, and this. And when Haman came in and he suggested this, the king he immediately knew that Haman was the culprit. Although he wasn't quite, he was putting it together, but he didn't have the full picture just yet. Okay, so the fall of Haman. Haman was soon to find out that he had gone far afield in supposing himself to be the man whom the king delighted to honor. The king's command ran, "Hasten to the royal treasure chambers, fetch thence a cover of fine purple, a raiment of delicate silk, furnished forth with golden bells and pomegranates, and bestrewn with diamonds and pearls, and the large golden crown which was brought me from Macedonia upon the day I ascended the throne. Furthermore, fetch thence the sword and the coat of mail sent me from Ethiopia, and the 2 veils embroidered with pearls, which were Africa's gift. Then repair to the royal stables, and lead forth the black horse whereon I sat at my coronation. With all these insignia of honor, seek out Mordecai." Ooh, I bet he wanted to die right then and there. Haman, which Mordecai? Ahasuerus, Mordecai the Hebrew. Haman, there be many Hebrews named Mordecai. Like, why are you tripping? You knew exactly who he was talking about. The one that got that, what is it, that contract written on his knee. Him, Ahasuerus, the Hebrew Mordecai who sits at the king's gate. Haman, there be many royal guests, I know not which thou meanest. Ahasuerus, the gate that leads from harem to the palace. Haman, this man is my enemy and the enemy of my house. Rather would I give him 10,000 talents of silver than to do him this honor. Ahasuerus, 10,000 talents of silver shall be given to him, and he shall be made lord over thy house. But these honors must thou show unto him. Haman, I have 10 sons. I would rather have them run before his horse than do him this honor. Ahasuerus, thou, thy sons, and thy wife shall be slaves to Mordecai, but these honors must thou show unto him. Haman, O my lord the king, Mordecai is a common man. Appoint him to be ruler over a city, or if thou wilt, even over a district, rather than I should do him this honor. No sound? You can't hear me? Hold on. All right. Testing, testing. Maybe it's just your phone. Mom, close it out. Open it back up. Somebody type in close it and open it back up. Anybody else can hear me? Sheesh. Somebody on Facebook, they got the YouTube link. You can hear. Okay. Okay. So, Mom, it's your phone. Somebody type in close your YouTube and open it back up. Okay. 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 She'll get it. Okay. Okay. She'll figure it out. All right. Okay. Got it. Okay. Sweet. Okay. While she do that, I'm going to go back up a couple sentences to his sons. Haman, I have 10 sons. You good? Okay, sweet. Haman, I have 10 sons. I would rather have them run before his horse than do him this honor. Ahasuerus, thou, thy sons, and thy wife shall be slaves to Mordecai, but these honors thou must show unto him. Haman, O my lord and king, Mordecai is a common man. Appoint him to be ruler over a city, or if thou wilt, even over a district, rather than I should do him this honor. Ahasuerus, I will appoint him ruler over cities and districts. All the kings on land and on water shall pay him obedience, but these honors thou must show unto him. Haman, rather have coins struck bearing thy name together with his. Haman, rather have coins struck bearing thy name together with his instead of mine as hitherto, then should I do him this honor. Ahasuerus, the man who saved the life of the king deserves to have his name put on the coin of the realm. Nevertheless, these honors must thou show unto him. He's trying to do everything he can to get out of showing this honor to Mordecai. Haman, edicts and writings have been issued to all parts of the kingdom, commanding that the nation to which Mordecai belongs shall be destroyed. Recall them rather than that I do him this honor. Ahasuerus, the edicts and writings shall be recalled, yet these honors thou must show unto Mordecai. Seeing that all petitions and entreaties were ineffectual, and Ahasuerus insisted upon the execution of his order, Haman went to the royal treasure chambers, walking with his head bowed like a mourner's, his ears hanging down, his eyes dim, his mouth screwed up, his heart hardened, his bowels cut in pieces, his loins leaped, and his knees knocking against each other. He gathered together the royal insignia and took them to Mordecai, accompanied on his way by Habernah and Abzur, who, at the order of the king, were to take heed whether Haman carried out his wishes to the letter. Oh, not only that, you got somebody watching me too? Bruh. And if he could have died, he would have just died right on the spot, right? Or you got to think about all his pride and all that big talking and the gallows that he had, all that stuff, right? Now, I got to humble myself to this common person. When Mordecai saw his enemy approach, he thought his last moment had come. He urged his pupils to flee, that they might not burn themselves with his coals. But they refused, saying, in life as in death, we desire to be with thee. The few moments left him, as he thought, Mordecai spent in devotion. With words of prayer on his lips, he desired to pass away. Haman, therefore, had to address himself to the pupils of Mordecai. What was the last subject taught you by your teacher Mordecai? They told him that they had been discussing the law of the Omer, the sacrifice brought on the very day so long as the temple had stood. At his request, they described some of the details of the ceremony of the temple connected with the offering. He exclaimed, "Happy are you that your 10 farthings with which you bought the wheat for the omer produced a better effect than my 10,000 talents of silver, which I offered unto the king for the destruction of the Hebrews." Meantime, Mordecai had finished his prayer. Haman stepped up to him and said, "Arise, thou pious son of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Thy sackcloth and ashes availed more than my 10,000 talents of silver, which I promised unto the king. They were not accepted, but thy prayers were accepted by thy Father in heaven." Mordecai, not yet disabused of the notion that Haman had come to take him to the cross, requested the grace of a few minutes for his last meal. Only Haman's repeated protests assured him. When Haman set about arraying him with the royal apparel, Mordecai refused to put it on until he had bathed and had dressed his hair. Royal apparel agreed, but ill with his condition after 3 days of sackcloth and ashes. As luck would have it, Esther had issued the command that the bath keepers and barbers were not to ply their trades on that day, and there was nothing for Haman to do but perform the menial services Mordecai required. Haman tried to play upon the feelings of Mordecai. Fetching a deep sigh, he said, "The greatest in the king's realm is now acting as a bath keeper and barber. Not only this, but I gotta cut this man's hair and help him clean himself too. Like, oh, to the depths I have fallen." Fetching a deep sigh, he said, "The greatest in the king's realm is now acting as a bath keeper and barber." Mordecai, however, did not permit himself to be imposed upon. He knew Haman's origin too well to be deceived. He remembered his father, who had been bath keeper and barber in the village. Haman's humiliation was not yet complete. Mordecai, exhausted by his 3 days fast, was too weak to mount his horse unaided. Haman had to serve him as a footstool, and Mordecai took the opportunity to give him a kick right in the butt. I added that last part. It's sentence stopped at kick. I added right in the butt. I'll read it again. Haman's humiliation was not yet complete. Mordecai, exhausted by his 3 days fast, was too weak to mount his horse unaided. Haman had served him as a footstool, and Mordecai took the opportunity to give him a kick. Haman reminded him of the scriptural verse, "Rejoice not when thy enemy falleth, and let not thine heart be glad when he is overthrown." Oh, so now you know our scriptures where you want to repeat them back to me, right? Yeah, no. I hope you felt every bit of my foot. Mordecai, however, hey, calm down in there, y'all. Mordecai, however, refused to apply it to himself, for he was chastising not a personal enemy, but the enemy of his people. And of such it is said in the scripture, "And thou shalt tread upon the high places of thine enemies." Finally, Haman caused Mordecai to ride through the streets of the city and proclaimed before him, "Thus shall it be done unto the man whom the king delighted to honor." In front of them, they marched 27,000 youths, detailed for this service. Yes.
Boy, don't let me get in the game.
Hey, y'all let her get in the game. Okay, well, give her the right controller. Go play, sis. In front of them marched 27,000 youths, detailed for this service from the court. In their right hands they bore golden cups and golden beakers in their left hands, and they too proclaimed, "Thus shall it be done unto the man whom the king delighteth to honor." The procession furthermore was swelled by the presence of the Hebrews. They, however, made a proclamation of different tenor. "Thus shall it be done," they cried out, "unto the man whose honor is desired by the king that hath created heaven and earth."
Them not.
Joshua, Isaiah and Josiah.
No.
Help her get the right controller.
Mom, remember you only got us 3 controllers? I want one like this.
Well, let her get in the next round. Okay, just go. Be patient.
No, all Zay's children.
Okay, well you can take his when they're done with that round. Then you can play. Hey, loser gets off and let her take a turn. Go. Hey, hush. I'm reading. Be quiet, y'all. All right, y'all. Thus shall be done, they cried out, unto the man whose honor is desired by the king. Hold on, y'all. I'm sorry. Give me one moment. Just 1 second. 1 second. Little girl, you want me to be quiet and wait? Bella, keep quiet and just wait your turn. Okay. Okay. Hold on. I'm gonna find my spot. Okay. The procession, furthermore, was swelled by the presence of the Hebrews. They, however, made a proclamation of a different tenor. Thus shall be done, they cried out, unto the man whose honor is desired by the king that hath created heaven and earth. As they rode along, Mordecai gave praise to Yahuwah. I will extol thee, O Yah, for thou hast raised me up, and hast not made my foes rejoice over me. O Yah, my God, I cried unto thee, and thou hast healed me. O Yah, thou hast brought my soul up from Sheol. Bella, I'm going to send you upstairs. All of y'all, hush. O Lord, my God, I cried unto thee, and thou hast healed me. O Lord, thou hast brought up my soul from Sheol. Thou hast kept me alive, that I should not go down to the pit. Whereupon his pupils joined in. Sing praise unto Yahuwah, O ye saints of his, and give thanks to his holy name. For his anger is but for a moment, and his favor is life. Weeping may tarry for the night, but joy cometh in the morning. Haman added the verse thereto. As for me, I said in my prosperity, I shall never be moved. Thou, Lord, thou, Lord, of thy favor, has made my mountain to stand strong. Thou didst hide thy face. I was troubled. Oh, Haman, you know a whole lot about these scriptures, huh? That you joined in and offered a verse. Thou didst hide thy face. I was troubled. Queen Esther continued, I cried out to thee, O Yah, and unto Yahuwah I made supplication. What profit is there in my blood when I shall go down to the pit? Shall the dust praise thee? Shall it declare thy truth? The whole concourse of Hebrews present cried out, Thou hast turned from me my mourning into dancing. Thou hast loosed my sackcloth and girded me with gladness, to the end that my glory may sing praise to thee and not be silent. O Lord my God, I will give thanks unto thee forever. When this procession passed the house of Haman, his daughter was looking out of the window. She took the man on the horse to be her father, and the leader of it, Mordecai. Raising a vessel filled with offal, she emptied it out over the leader. Raising a vessel filled with offal, she emptied it out over the leader, her own father. Scarce had the vessel left her hand when she realized the truth, and she threw herself from the window and lay crushed to death on the street below. In spite of the sudden change in his fortunes, Mordecai ended the eventful day as he had begun it, in prayer and fasting. No sooner was the procession over than he put off the royal robes, and again, covering himself with sackcloth, he prayed until night fell. Haman was plunged was plunged in the mourning, partly on the account of the deep disgrace to which he had been subjected, partly on the account of the death of his daughter. Neither his wife nor his friends could advise him how to mend his sad fortunes. They could hold out only sorry consolation to him. If this Mordecai is of the seed of the saints, thou wilt not be able to prevail against him. Thou wilt surely encounter the same fate as the kings in their battle with Abraham and Abimelech in his quarrel with Isaac. As Jacob was victorious over the angel with whom he wrestled, and Moses and Aaron caused the drowning of Pharaoh and his host, so Mordecai will overcome thee in the end. Calm down in there, y'all. While they were yet talking, the king's chamberlains came and hastily carried Haman off to the banquet Esther had prepared, to prevent him and his influential sons from plotting against. While they were yet talking, the king's chamberlains came and hastily carried Haman off to the banquet Esther had prepared, to prevent him and his influential sons from plotting against the king. Ahasuerus repeated his promise to give Esther whatever she desired, always expecting the restoration of the temple. This time, casting her eyes heavenward, Esther replied, If I have found favor in thy sight, O supreme king, and if it please thee, O king of the world, let my life be given me, and let my people be rescued out of the hands of its enemy. Ahasuerus, thinking these words were addressed to him, asked in irritation, Who is he and where is he, this presumptuous conspirator who thought to do thus? These were the first words the king had ever spoken to Esther herself. Hitherto he had always communicated with her through an interpreter. He had not been quite satisfied she was worthy enough to be addressed by the king. Now made cognizant of the fact that she was a Hebrew and of royal descent besides, he spoke directly to her without the intervention of others. Esther stretched forth her hand. Hey, calm down, y'all. Y'all too loud. Esther stretched forth her hand to indicate the man who had sought to take her life, and Esther stretched forth her hand to indicate the man who had sought to take her, as he had actually taken Vashti's, but in the excitement of the moment, she pointed to the king. Fortunately, the king did not observe her error, because an angel guided her hand instantaneously in the direction of Haman, whom her words described. This is the adversary and the enemy, he who desired to murder thee in thy sleeping chamber during the night just past, he who this very day desired to array himself in the royal apparel, ride upon thy horse, and wear thy golden crown upon his head, to rise up against thee and deprive thee of thy sovereignty. But Yahuwah set his undertaking at naught, and the honors he sought for himself fell to the share of my uncle Mordecai, who this oppressor and enemy thought to hang. The anger of the king already burnt so fiercely that he hinted to Esther that whether Haman was the adversary she had in mind or not, she was to designate him as such. To infuriate him still more, Yahuwah sent 10 angels in the guise of Haman's 10 sons to fell down the trees in the royal park. When Ahasuerus turned his eyes toward the interior of the park, he saw the ruthless destruction of which they were guilty. In his rage, he went out into the garden. This was the instant utilized by Haman to implore grace for himself from Esther. Gabriel intervened and threw Haman upon the couch in a posture as though he was about to do violence to the queen. At that moment, Ahasuerus reappeared. Enraged beyond description by what he saw, he cried out, Haman attempts to honor the queen Haman attempts to honor, it says honor. I think it should be dishonor, but let me just keep reading. Haman attempts to honor the queen in my very presence. Come then, ye peoples, nations, and races, and pronounce judgment over him. When Habernah, originally a friend of Haman and an adversary of Mordecai, heard the king's angry exclamation, he said to him, Nor is this the only crime committed by Haman against thee, for he was an accomplice of the conspirators Bigthan and Teresh, and his enmity to Mordecai dates back to the time when Mordecai uncovered their foul plots. Out of revenge, therefore, he has erected a cross for him. Harbonah's words illustrate the saying, Once the ox has been cast to the ground, slaughtering knives can readily be found. Knowing that Haman had fallen from his high estate, Harbonah was intent upon winning the friendship of Mordecai. Harbonah was altogether right, for Ahasuerus at once ordered Haman to be hanged. Mordecai was charged with the execution of the king's order, and Haman's tears and entreaties did not in the least move him. He insisted upon hanging him like the commonest of criminals, instead of executing him with the sword, the mode of punishment applied to men of rank guilty of serious misdemeanors. The cross which Haman, at the advice of his wife Zeresh and of his friends, had erected for Mordecai, was now used for himself. It was made of wood from a thorn bush. Yahuwah called all the trees together and inquired which one would permit the cross for Haman to be made of it. The fig tree said, I am ready to serve, for I am symbolic of Israel, and also my fruits were brought to the temple as first fruits. The vine said, I am ready to serve, for I am symbolic of Israel, and also my wine is brought to the altar. The apple tree said, I am ready to serve. I am symbolic of Israel. The nut tree said, I am ready to serve, for I am symbolic of Israel. The entrog tree said, I shall have the privilege, for with my fruit Israel praises Yahuwah on Sukkot. The willow of the brook said, hold on, I need a sip of water. Okay. The willow of the brook said, I desire to serve, for I am symbolic of Israel. The cedar tree said, I desire to serve, for I am symbolic of Israel. The palm tree said, I desire to serve, for I am symbolic of Israel. Finally, the thorn bush came and said, I am fitted to do this service. Joshua, you're too loud. Finally, the thorn bush came and said, I am fitted to do this service, for the ungodly are like pricking thorns. The offer of the thorn bush was accepted, after Yahuwah gave a blessing to each of the other trees for its willingness to serve. A sufficiently long beam cut from a thorn bush could be found only in the house of Haman, which had been demolished in order to obtain it. The cross was tall enough for Haman and his 10 sons to be hanged upon it. It was planted 3 cubits deep in the ground. Each of the victims required 3 cubits space in length. 1 cubit space was left vacant between the feet of the one above and the head of the one below, and the youngest son, that Vezatha, had his feet 4 cubits from the ground as he was hung. Haman and his 10 sons remained suspended a long time, to the vexation of those who consider it a violation of the biblical prohibition in Deuteronomy not to leave a human body hanging upon a tree overnight. Esther pointed to a precedent. The descendants of Saul, whom the Gibeonites left hanging half a year, whereby the name of Yahuwah was sanctified. For whenever the pilgrims beheld them, they told the heathen that the men had been hanged because their father Saul had laid hand on the Gibeonites. How much more then, continued Esther, are we justified in permitting Haman and his family to hang, they who desired to destroy the house of Israel? Besides, these 10 sons who had been governors in various provinces, Haman had 20 others, 10 of whom died, and the other 10 of whom were reduced to beggary. The vast fortune of Haman died possessed. The vast fortune of which Haman died possessed was divided in three parts. The vast fortune of which Haman did possess was divided in three parts. The first part was given to Mordecai and Esther, the second to the students of the Torah, the third was applied to the restoration of the temple. Mordecai thus became a wealthy man. He was also set up as king of the Hebrews. As such, he had coins struck which bore the figure of Esther on the obverse and his own figure on the reverse. However, in the measure in which Mordecai gained in worldly power and consideration, he lost spiritually, because the business connected with his high political station left him no time to study the Torah. Previously, he had ranked sixth among the eminent scholars of Israel. He now dropped to the seventh place among them. Ahasuerus, on the other hand, was the gainer by the change. As soon as Mordecai entered upon the office of Grand Chancellor, he succeeded in subjecting to his sway the provinces that had revolted on the account of Vashti's execution. All right, I'm going to read this last little section and we are going to be done. I know we're at 101, but this little paragraph, I might as well go on and finish right now. The Edict of the King. The edict issued against the Hebrews was revoked by Ahasuerus in the following terms. King Ahasuerus sends this letter to all the inhabitants of water and earth, to all the rulers of districts, and to generals of the army who dwell in every country. May your peace be great. I write this to you to inform you that although I had rule over many nations, over the inhabitants of land and sea, yet I am not proud of my power, but would rather walk in lowliness and meekness of spirit all my days, in order to provide for you great peace. Unto all who dwell under my dominion, unto all who seek to carry on business on land or on sea, unto all who desire to export goods from one nation to the other, from one people to the other, unto them all I am the same, from one end of the earth to the other. And none may seek to cause excitement on land or sea, or enmities between one nation and another, between one people and another. I write this because, in spite of our sincerity and honesty with which we love all the nations, revere all the rulers, and do good to all the potentates, there are nevertheless people who were near to the king, and into whose hand the government was entrusted, who by their intrigues and falsehoods misled the king and wrote letters which are not right before heaven, which are evil before men and harmful for the empire. This was the petition they requested from the king, that righteous men should be killed, and most innocent blood be shed of those who have not done any evil, nor were guilty of death, such righteous people as Esther, celebrated for all virtues, and Mordecai, wise in every branch of wisdom. There is no blemish to be found in them, nor in their nation. I thought that I was requested concerning another nation, and did not know that it was concerning the Hebrews, who are called the children of the Lord of all, who created heaven and earth, and who led them and their fathers through great and mighty empires. And now as he, Haman, the son of Hammedatha from Judea, a descendant of Amalek, who came to us and enjoyed much kindness, praise, and dignity from us, whom we made great, and called the father of the king, and seated him at the right hand of the king, did not know how to appreciate the dignity and how to conduct the affairs of state, but harbored thoughts to kill the king and take away his kingdom. Therefore we ordered the son of Hammedatha to be hanged, and all that he desired we have brought upon his head. And the creator of heaven and earth brought his machinations upon his head. As a memorial of the wonderful deliverance from the hands of Haman, the Hebrews of Shushan celebrated their arch enemy. Hold on. As a memorial of the wonderful deliverance from the hands of Haman, the Hebrews of Shushan celebrated the day their arch enemy had appointed for their extermination, and their example was followed by the Hebrews of the other cities of the Persian Empire and by those of other countries. Yet the sages, when besought by Esther, refused at first to make it a festival for all times, lest the hatred of the heathen be excited against the Hebrews. They yielded only after Esther had pointed out to them that the events on which the holiday was based were perpetrated in the annals of the kings of Persia and Media, and thus the outside world would not be able to misinterpret the joy of the Hebrews. Esther addressed another petition to the sages. She begged that the book containing her history should be incorporated in the Holy Scriptures because they shrank from adding anything to the triple canon consisting of Torah, the prophets, and the hagiographa. They again refused, and again they had to yield to Esther's argument. She quoted the words from Exodus. Write this for a memorial in a book spoken by Moses to Joshua after the battle of Rephidim with the Amalekites. They saw that it was the will of Yahuwah to immortalize the warfare waged against the Amalekite Haman. Nor is the book of Esther an ordinary history. Without aid of the Holy Spirit, it could not have been composed, and therefore its canonization resolved upon Without aid of the Holy Spirit, it could not have been composed, and therefore its canonization resolved upon below was endorsed above. As the book of Esther became an integral and indestructible part of the Holy Scriptures, so the Feast of Purim will be celebrated forever, now and in the future world. And Esther herself, by her pious deeds, acquire a good name both in this world and in the world to come. And that, my beautiful people, is the end of the Legends of the Jews. I feel some kind of way. It's like we're about to leave a good friend, right? This has been a good friend to us, right? It has enlightened us on a lot of stuff, brought a lot of scriptures to light. I sure hope you guys enjoyed all of it just as I have. We read every word. All right, y'all. So that's that. Tomorrow we begin fossilized customs, and we go in here breaking up more of the lies that we have been taught over the millennia while we have been scattered to the four corners of the earth. Make sure when y'all get a chance before the weekend pass, even if you get a chance to do it after we get off of here today, this PDF that I'm going to pin in here for y'all, read it. Listen to what this Jewish guy said. The Jewish guy, not Hebrew. Jewish guy. Listen to what he said, and some of they frackle-knackle and they shenanigans that they have put into play on the real people of the book, the true descendants of Jacob, right? The sons and daughters of Jacob who have been scattered. But not only us, they have fooled the entire world. And he goes on further to say that the God that they truly worship is Satan. No, they don't say Satan. They say Lucifer, right? They said the God we worship is Lucifer, right? He says that, like he says it proudly. And so some people who have been taken by some of the practices that the Jews are doing, even some of our people who are waking up, returning to their Hebraic roots, and not realizing this about the Jewish people. And I think I would go as far as to say, as some of the Jewish people, if not a lot of them alive today, are themselves, well, we know scripture says that they would inherit lies too, right? But those who are waking up, and I'm saying Yahuwah is opening their eyes, and wait a minute, we're not these people. What are we doing, right? They are being like excommunicated from their people. Like, the Jewish people don't want to hear them. They call them traitors. Like, get away from here, you traitor. This and this and that. And it's like and Yahuwah has allowed it, you know. But blessed be Yahuwah that he has opened their eyes. And they decided, you know what, we're going to speak the truth, because we are going to be held accountable for this and what our ancestors did. And some of them are repenting and for true desire, hoping that Yahuwah will forgive them and their forefathers. And they are truly heartbroken and sorry about this, right? Some of them are just kind of repenting because we think we're going to sidestep some of this judgment coming. Maybe we may miss a little bit of it, but your heart's still not right, bruh. You haven't come to true repentance yet. But when you get a chance, y'all gotta read that. Some of the stuff that he said and how they just pull the wool over everybody's eyes and keep them pitted, keep the races pitted against one another while they working their magic in the background, doing what they do, just taking over everything. Y'all gotta read it. Y'all got it, because it's gonna be really good. If you get a chance to read it today, it'll start making a lot of sense. I mean, simply because I've read through this, and I started reading that letter. It brings some other things to light, especially like I said with what I shared yesterday as well. And he goes in talking about some of the shenanigans over in the New Testament. Like he don't bite his tongue about what he says about JC. I'm like, well, go ahead and speak the truth. I mean, we just found this out not too long ago, but clearly they knew. Like, and they make fun of people. It's like, these people are stupid. We're gonna keep doing this. If they're gonna keep pushing this will further our cause. Yep, go ahead, praise JC. Go ahead and praise him. These people, keep on, yeah. Push it over here. They ain't paying attention to y'all. Matter of fact, I can speak loud. They's not paying attention to y'all. Go ahead and do this. Push this in. Move this. Just keep up ruckus over there between y'all. I'm telling you. Y'all just gotta read it. Okay. So with that being said, y'all, look. Shalom, Joanne. Shalom. Okay, Joanne, so you let's do the blessing first, and I answer your question based on what I know. Now I know some people, they teach some other stuff, right? Based on what I just give me a moment. let's do the blessing. Okay. Today is it's Friday, April the 30th, 2021, day 141, year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 810, 810. Guys, we read 1 Chronicles 5, 6, and 7, and we finished up reading the entire book of the Legends of the Jews, page 510 to page 513. Let's go ahead over here and do the blessing, which is found in Numbers chapter 6. Verses 22 through 27. Remember, the first 21 verses is the Nazirite vow. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, May Yahuwah bless us and keep us. May Yahuwah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon us and give us peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people. Okay, so Joanne, hold on. Okay, so Joanne asked, she said, I'm a bit down, sis. My period came again during Passover. What can I do? So first, let me, just so I make sure, you were talking about your menstrual cycle, correct? It might be TMI for men, but just bear with us here while we talk about this. And I don't know what men are here and what you believe about this, but I'm giving this based on. Okay. No, I'm giving you this based on, and it's not going to be like discussing talking about blood and nothing like that. But we're going to kind of talk about. Okay. So if there are some people who are observing Passover, the second Passover. Remember, we celebrated Passover last month, right? But there are some people who have kept the 13th month, right? But we talked about that. We're not going to get into it right now. But according to scripture, they're okay. Some people are celebrating Passover this month. Okay. And I don't necessarily see a problem with that, because when Yahuwah talks about Passover, he also mentioned, because there were a group of people who couldn't celebrate Passover because either they were unclean or they were out of town or they didn't know about it or something. So Yahuwah said, okay, they have a point. They can celebrate Passover on the second month of the year. He ordained it. He said it's going to be the first month of the year. You observed it for last month too? Okay. So he said it's to be the first month of the year. But for those who didn't get a chance to observe it for whatever reason, not that you just purposely didn't do it because, oh, I don't feel like doing it this month, I'm gonna do it next month since it is allowed, right? No, if there is some reason, according to what was going on then, if there was some reason where you were on duty or had to be away or whatever, he said then it's proper. You can celebrate Passover on the second month of the year, but you have to follow the same rules and regulations, and it's going to be on the 15th day of the second month, right? And the Passover would be the 14th day, and Feast of Unleavened Bread would be the 15th day, right? You go back there and read that, right? So it says that. It just got brighter again. It was going through clouds, so make sure y'all can see. Okay, so she asked about her menstrual cycle. Now, let me just say this. Now, this is from my personal experience and what I've talked to Yahuwah about, because I've heard these teachings. Now, so we learn in scripture that when a woman is on her menstrual cycle, she is unclean during that time, right? She's not supposed to be touching anything. And, and I've heard different people listen to some of the Hebrew roots, some of the teachings, just kind of see where their mind is at. I would hear some women teaching, but then one of the men would ask one of the women to pray, and she would say, well, I can't pray because, and she was just said it like it was I can't pray because I'm on my monthly cycle. I'm like, what? That caught my attention. I'm like, ooh. I'm like, Father, you ain't never tell me stop praying, Pam, you on your cycle. Of course I read it, but there is not days that I take off because I'm on my cycle. And I want y'all to think about it. Yahuwah hasn't told me to stop reading. We've been reading 3 years consecutively, only taking the Sabbath off. How many cycles would I have had to go through? If it's once a month for 7 days, right? 7 days. So that's 12 cycles per year. So I've been 12, 24, with all the way through the year. I've had over 30, let me say that, 36, 24, 26, we'll be at January, February, March, April. I've had at least 28 cycles. But I've been here every day. Like, I've never felt the conviction of y'all to, not stand my post because I'm on my monthly cycle. Right? Now, I also understand that as time progressed, look, they called it back in the day a woman being on her rag or whatever, right? Now, I'm not saying it's 100% correct. I'm just saying my personal experience and what Yahuwah has and has not said to me. He has never told me that I could not partake in something because I was on my cycle. Now, I know what we see in here, and I know that there are things missing, and there are things that have been added, and I'm going to just say this, I haven't done a deep study on a woman's cycle. But just like I said, from my personal experience, Yahuwah never told me that I had to stop doing anything except for being intimate with my husband during my cycle. But anything regarding reading or praying, he did not say I had to stop. Like, even when we're celebrating the feast days, he didn't say I couldn't partake because I was on my cycle. Also, Yahuwah never really mentioned that. And even with Passover, there was nobody, I was about to say something, make sure I word this right. Mind you, when they were talking, it was the men who were talking to Moses. He said, okay, if we're at war, we've been made unclean by such and such reason. They weren't even, when they were talking, they weren't even talking about the women among them, right? I'm sure the women were included, but it was the men who were asking this question, because the women aren't going off to war or whatever they're doing in the background, but they are still present at all of these things, So I would say you can, if you want to observe it this second month as well, which I didn't keep up with the second month because I did it on the first month. That's how I'm tracking. I'm not doing the 13th month because I don't find I know what people pull out, but the whole 13th month is Jewish, and anything that those people are doing, I at least from all my personal studies, they always gotta add something extra or take some. They not doing it exactly the way Yahuwah has said. So if you observed it last month, you good, Joanne. If you want to celebrate it again this month, I'm not saying you can't. You can. If you're on your cycle, there is nothing that says that we can't partake in the feast if we are on our monthly cycle, right? So now I know some people don't agree with that based on what they're being taught, and I've heard some of it. I just could never agree with it, because with stuff like that, I do personally go to Yah. I'm like, well, oh shoot, we ain't supposed to be doing this, Yah. I've been reading out loud, like, have I been violating my post by doing? He's like, it's like this, girl, calm down, you fine. And I'm like, okay, like seriously, because I've thought about this. I'm actually glad you asked the question, because when I heard this with a couple different, and I don't listen, they call them the alphabet camps, ABC camps or UCIC or different ones like that. I'm not a part of any of them. I ain't a part of nobody camp. It's me and y'all alone, my family and friends that we make or whatever. We learning this together. But I ain't a part of nobody's congregation, their camp, their whatever you want to call it, all of that. So they got rules and stuff that kind of hold them to certain things where it seems ridiculous to me. I get that there are some things are set in place for the sake of order, and that's okay. But there are some things that I see that they're beginning to do that it makes them no better than Christian congregations and stuff, and doing some of that same stuff that started getting our people into bondage anyway. So, but those are my thoughts on that from my personal experience, Joanne. You're welcome. So, yeah. So, but, yeah, that was it, y'all. So, if there are no more questions, and I don't think there was anything else earlier, I think y'all just kind of talking amongst yourselves up here. Yeah, I think that's good. That was it. All right, y'all. So with that being said, we can go ahead and roll out. We'll be here tomorrow, bright and early, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, because it's Saturday. We get to sleep in a little bit longer. Embarrassing? Don't be embarrassed. Don't be embarrassed. Don't be embarrassed. But it's I'm actually glad you asked the question, because there could be some more people that's wondering about that, or some people that may come and watch this later, if they stay to the end of the video, would they're wondering about that, because it's I've seen a lot of stuff, especially in regards to this, but we want to make sure that Father, I would be like, Father, I want to make sure I'm staying in line, I'm staying in order. I ain't trying to be like one of these rogue women out here, get myself stoned to death. So you gotta help me, So, and a lot of times I was realizing some of the teachers, especially from some of the camps and even the church, other places, it's off kilter, right? Especially in regards to Yahuwah's women, the daughters of Zion, right? They've done such an injustice with the teachings about the daughters of Zion that it makes me want to throw up. So it's like, Father, you're gonna have to teach me this step by step. Like, I'll keep what's good, but I'm throwing away what's bad. Like, I ain't gonna throw out the baby with the bathwater. Some stuff that they teach you is okay, it's good, but some stuff, like, where do you get that from? We ain't doing that. But and some of them will go toe to toe with you on, like, oh, well, you in rebellion and this and this, don't hang around with this sister, keep your wives away from. Okay. And I will gracefully bow out of places like that. I ain't gonna argue with you, But now if Yahuwah comes back and say something to me, then I must oblige, right? Now I have to make adjustments. Example, like with my head wraps, right? Now y'all done heard the story before. Me, love to wear my hair out with the dreads or whatever. But and I was watch the first couple years, first two and a half years. I want to say 2.5 years. I didn't wear my hair covered. Maybe a couple times I did, but I love head wraps, but I wasn't doing it like religiously, right? But when I took the Nazarite vow, and I had to start it over a couple times because things happen. A family member passed, and it's like, well, I done touched the dead body, so I violated my vow, So, but I knew that ahead of time, and I thought about the length of my vow, knowing that if I did this, I would have to start it all the way over. And I was 2 years in. I'm like, shoot, okay, now, okay, well, I need to say bye to my grandma, So I consciously decided to violate it based on who it was, And I think that's okay because I thought about it. I'm like, okay, Father, I'm gonna do it, and I don't mind that I have to start it all over. I don't mind that them 2 years, I gotta redo them. I don't mind that, because I wanted to honor my grandmother. So I'm like, okay, so I cut them all off, and we starting over. Because when you violate your vow, when you defile, you gotta cut all your hair off, right? And start over because your hair, Yahuwah said this while you're taking a Nazarite vow. Your hair is not just your body, but also your hair is the symbol of your dedication of being set apart to Him, right? He said you're not to put scissors to it, you're to let the locks grow long upon your head, right? So as they grow out, I'm going to have to just think of different ways on how to, keep them wrapped up under the hair or just do different types of things, right? So I said all that to say, now some camps and places that teach, you got to keep your head covered at all times and this and that. I'm like, okay. To each his own, but I like wear my hair out, get some sun on my crown and all that stuff. So, it is what it is. You want to wear the wraps all the time, then you wear the wraps all the time. But I ain't wearing the wraps all the time. And that was that, and Yahuwah didn't have an issue with it. But when I retook the vow the last time, so one day, and I told this story, it was back in September of last year. If you go back in September, if you scroll through my videos in September, you will see how the day where I started wearing the head wraps, and from that day I started wearing the head wraps, every time I come up here, when I'm in public view of people, I consider this public, because people can see me. So I have my head wrapped. Go outside of my house, my hair be wrapped. But if I'm around my house, I ain't going out, my head is uncovered because I'm in my house. He said when you go out, cover your head, right? So I'm like, okay. But when he said that, matter of fact, I'll tell the story again. So I was sitting on the side of the bed. I was laying down, I was praying. I was actually fasting at the time, right? So I was sitting on the side of the bed, actually I was laying down. I took a little break. I was going to take a nap, but I couldn't fall asleep because my mind was going and I was praying. So I was like, let me go on ahead and get up. And as I was getting up, and as how you get up and you turn yourself and put your feet on the floor. As I was doing that, I heard Yahuwah say just as clear as day. He said, start wrapping your hair. I said, and I think just like, how you look out the side of your eye at somebody, and I just like, opened my eye and I looked up to heaven. And I'm like, and I just did like that. And I wanted to say what now? But I knew it was him. I've been knowing the voice ever since I was a little girl. So I'm like, wait, who is that speaking? What? Huh? No, I knew it was him. And I just side-eyed him for a second. Looked down to the ground. I'm like, okay. I don't know why, but okay. Right? So all these things was going through my head. And at that point, I already had a bunch of head wraps. So I took a couple of them and I got up and I went into the bathroom and I started playing with the different head wraps, different styles and stuff, and finding videos on YouTube and trying to do different ones. And as I'm sitting there playing with, I'm like, okay, Father. I'm like, I ain't going to ask you why. I mean, there could be many reasons why. And as I was going through this, but I really did want to know why. I wanted to make sure, like, deep down in my shanana, I wanted to make sure that I wasn't about to do something that was about to be super overly religious, right? Because some people do things, this is our thing, we do this because this is how it's always supposed to be done, right? I wanted to make sure it wasn't going to be one of those type of things. You know what Yahuwah said to me? Like, other people will wrap their hair out of religious reasons, but the reasons why I wrap my hair is because Yahuwah asked me to, and he told me why. I was wondering, I didn't ask him, I didn't want to ask him, I'm just going to be obedient because there's a reason why. I've never gone wrong by listening to you, even though you may not give me the reason right then. Something happens soon where I find out. So I'm going through all these thoughts in my head. He said, I want you to wrap your hair because your hair belongs to me. It's sanctified unto me while you're a Nazarite. Now, I don't know if he tell all the Nazarites to wrap their hair, but he told me to wrap my hair because it's consecrated and it's dedicated to him. It belongs to him. It's a sign of my vow to him, setting myself apart for him for this time that I vow. So I'm like, okay, I'm cool with that, you know. So if people ask me, I'll tell them and I share it with y'all. But some people look and they be like, you Muslim? I'm like, no, I'm not a Muslim. You know, I won't get into the unless they actually ask. Well, why do you? Then it depends on who it is, though. I ain't gonna share that with just anybody, you know. But I share it with y'all. But yeah, but some people are like wonder, oh, why are you rapping your? Oh, you're part of camp and stuff. And some people I don't indulge them in their conversation. But like I said, depending on who it is, I'll let you know on why. But that's why I wrap my hair. So I just kind of wanted to tie that in to with the whole menstrual cycle thing or whatever. I try my best to just listen to y'all on everything. I know some things that we see in scripture, like at face value though, I'm just going to kind of take it all at face value unless Yahuwah says something different, because some things have been interpreted wrong. And I want to make sure, the best of my ability, we are interpreting it the proper way. But when it came to that with the cycle, I clearly know, based on what you kind of hear in some other camps, teachings being pushed, but I also know what Yahuwah told me to do by reading the scriptures, and that would be considered like if you go into other places or whatever, okay, well, you on your cycle, you can't stand before the people and do this because you are considered unclean, right? Yahuwah didn't tell me that, right? You know, he said just keep on and take the Sabbath off. You know, there should be no break. So I'm like, okay, so I just kind of read between the lines. Okay, Yahuwah, if this is cool with you and the only day I'm taking off is the Sabbath, then I'm okay, even during the feasts and stuff like that, right? Because shucks, the Sabbath is the most holy day of them all. It's one that appointment he set aside on a weekly basis from beginning of time, and it will be celebrated even in the world to come, right? That's the most important. Not that any of them are less important, but that is the one that he decided he wanted to do on a weekly basis, where he bring his family together. I need y'all to rest, and y'all just come talk to me on this day. Let's chop it up, you know. So that's why, Joanne, you know. So that's how I kind of, with some of these things, especially with things that's taken out of context with women, I just kind of just go right to y'all on this. Okay, Father, I know what they saying, but something off. Is they always get the women chopped and screwed. So I just want to make sure we're doing this the right way. If we got to do this, then okay. If I hear you say it, then I'm going to be okay with it. But I need to make sure that I'm doing this right, you know. So, but because I have a daughter, and I want to make sure that I teach her. And then I have sons who will be marrying women, and I want to make sure they understand and not lord over their women, over their wives, or just holding them into bondage on things that Yahuwah never really meant, you know. So, and everything, y'all, I would just say, just ask Yah. He is faithful, and he will talk to you. He will respond to you. So with that being said, y'all, I done talked long enough today. We are at 1 hour and 33 minutes. We're about to get out of here. We done already did the blessing and answered the questions, and we got to go. I love y'all. I will see y'all back here tomorrow morning, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace. Oh, and I'm going to share the stuff I said I was going to share. So be watching for that in the next few minutes. All right. Bye, y'all.